How many of you guys enjoy going to the beach? Well, if you're like me, then it's a big part of your life. And I'm sure all you, just like me, are fascinated by all the marine animals and everything that you can find there. Seals, dolphins, fish, crabs, and birds. And you and I know that we're very lucky to live at such a cool place. But have you ever realized all the harm that we are doing to our beaches and oceans? According to the Department of Environment and Resource Management, there are roughly 7 billion tons of debris entering the world's oceans annually. And most of it is long-lasting plastic, which puts a lot of birds and marine animals and mammals at harmful risk. Turtles, fish, birds, dolphins, seals, and other marine mammals have all fallen victim to plastic. And so today, I want to just warn you about all the dangers of littering and to encourage you to do your best to pick up after yourselves and keep our beaches clean. Because no matter how you do it, you can see that it's very important that we keep our beaches and oceans clean. So while I continued to read the article about by the Department of Environment and Resource Management website, sadly I discovered that an estimated 100,000 marine mammals and turtles are killed by plastic litter every year around the world. Fishing line, netting rope, bait box packaging vans, and etc. trap and strangle the animals. Large marine mammals such as seals and dolphins can starve to death when their nose is muzzled by the plastic litter. The plastic is also eaten by the animals. There was a dead whale found on New South Wales beach in Australia that had a plug of plastic bags in its gut, which blocked off food from being digested, causing the whale to starve to death. And that really shocked me to hear that, because that must have been a lot of plastic bags, which, like I said, there's 7 billion tons of it being dumped in the ocean every year. And another example of trash injuring a marine animal was in the news actually last week in Orange County. An American white pelican received surgery to correct a broken beak after a fishing line was so tightly tangled around the bird that it fractured its beak and was starving to death. And the way that a pelican feeds is completely with the strength of its beak. So by fracturing it, it was unable to use it. But a splint and screws were used to correct the beak, and right now it's recovering in the wildlife care center. And they had a picture in the article of the pelican, and it was and the bird was about the size of a large dog. So yeah, that must have been a lot of fishing strength too. So, if only all the fishermen across the world could just throw away their line instead of just breaking it off and tossing it on the ground or tossing it in the water, then that would really save a lot of lives in the ocean. But there are many other ways that beach and ocean visitors can help protect our ocean's ecosystem. Using reusable lunch bags, ice chests, food and drink containers for meals and snacks, and avoid purchasing plastic cups to bring to the beach. And always clean up after yourself, or always clean up your own trash and anything else you see. And when fishing, never leave loose line and hooks around on the ground. And bring your own container to put your trash in. And then remember, you should always leave the beach cleaner than when you arrived there. And Also, when visiting rivers and lakes, you should clean up your trash too, because all waterways eventually drain to the ocean. And there are also many ways to protect your ocean from at your home. You should never allow chemicals or toxins to drain down your driveway, such as like antifreeze from your car. And you should use like organic pesticides, fertilizers, and cleaners, since all waterways eventually lead up to the oceans, like the storm drains. And you should recycle everything you can and purchase disposable items that are biodegradable. All this will reduce the amount of trash that is put into the landfills that could potentially get washed into the sea and polluted. And then one of the most rewarding ways that you could help the ocean is by joining an organized cleanup day. On June 8th is World's Oceans Day, and many groups will host cleanups around the beach. And I know I'm gonna be there, bet on football, and the Save Our Parks organization just recently cleaned Huntington State Beach, and so hopefully this really opened your eyes and made you aware of the harm that we are doing to our oceans that we love so dearly. And no matter how you do it, you can see that it's very important that we keep our oceans and beaches clean.
JT, what did you think?
I like the topic. It's kind of in line with what I did too. It's very important these days because we are destroying our ocean. The intro is pretty good. You got our attention with the hook and all that. You also had a good preview. Your overall structure is pretty good, and the conclusion as well. But I think the only problem was probably just it seemed like you were reading to us rather than speaking, because you were just looking down. But I think that was only probably didn't look too shaky. Your voice was fine. Just interact more with the audience, I'd say.
Okay. You know my enthusiasm for an audience survey is an attention device, so that I'll start off with that. And then I do like your personal example and experience is a better way to talk about that. You do create a little bit of a visualization, so we know what the subject area is. Your goal is actually very clearly stated. I'm not sure it's particularly controversial, but we know where you're headed with this. Now, I do think you need to preview the contents a little bit more. In the body of the speech, you do signposting the supporting ideas, but there's not really a setup at the beginning of the speech about what that's going to consist of. There's some basic information in the presentation that you've gotten from at least the one website that you cited. I didn't think there was consistency in citing all of the sources of information, but you did have a variety of information and some examples. You had a pretty current example to kind of pull in some emotional response to, and I think that works pretty well. I've got to say, though, that I do think the delivery undermines some of those things. You said at one point you were shocked to hear something, and you don't look like you were shocked, and you barely sounded like you were shocked. You look like you're reading. You've got the pages in both of your hands the whole time, so there's not really any gesture, there's no body animation, there's not really much facial reaction to anything that you're talking about. Your eye contact, you drop your eyes for the most part and look at the page 90% of the time that you're up there. I think your voice projects adequately, and it's relatively clear, but there's not a lot of emotional content in it, and I think you need to work on those sorts of things. The better part of the speech had to do with the solutions that you're talking about. I think that you had a lot of good ideas here. They needed to be developed a little bit more. When you talked about World Oceans Day, you did kind of break out and say it's something that you were going to do, but I needed to know a little bit more about what it's going to entail, what's going to happen, and what kinds of things would people be expected to be a part of in that process, and where could we go for information.